Hello everyone, this is Professor Amar Bakudi from the Department of Civil Engineering, Angdi Institute of Technology and Management. So today we are going to study about the softening of water in Water Supply and Treatment Engineering Module 4. Introduction. The reduction or removal of hardness from water is known as softening. It is not essential to soften the water before supplying it to the public, but softening provides various advantages to the end user. Advantages include less soap utilization, no scaling of pipes, improved taste during food preparation. So these are the advantages of softening. Ultimately, whether the softening should be done or not will depend on the cost of treatment and the satisfaction level of the consumer. It is not a necessary step that we need to do it, but if we do this softening process, basically the satisfaction level of a customer will be increased. So based on your priorities, you can fix up with the softening process. Types of hardness. We have temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Permissible limits for these hardness are 75 mg per liter to 115 mg per liter for public water supplies. Temporary hardness. The another term for that is carbonate hardness. So the main components or sources of temporary hardness are carbonates and bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium. That is calcium carbonate, calcium bicarbonate. Similarly, magnesium carbonate and magnesium bicarbonate cause the temporary hardness of water. Now the preventive or remedial measures or removal of temporary hardness measures will be two, that is one is boiling of water, second one is addition of lime. Now similarly, second one is permanent hardness or what we call it as non-carbonate hardness. So here the components or the sources are sulfates, chlorides and nitrates of calcium and magnesium. That is, here we have totally 6 compounds, that is calcium and magnesium, sulfates, chlorides and nitrates. Now the preventive or remedial measures for this permanent hardness, we use lime soda process or zeolite process or demineralization process. Temporary hardness. So the first way of removing temporary hardness is with the boiling. So calcium carbonate is slightly soluble in water and it usually exists in water as calcium bicarbonate. When such water is boiled, carbon dioxide gas will be liberated, leading to precipitation of calcium carbonate, which can be separated through sedimentation process. So if you check out over here, calcium bicarbonate, this is a temporary hardness causing element, right? So when we boil it, that is apply heat to that, so this calcium bicarbonate will be converted into calcium carbonate. So this calcium carbonate is precipitated out, and once this is basically carbon dioxide gas is generated and we have water. So this carbon dioxide gas can be escaped through that liquid stream. We have water, then we have precipitate of calcium carbonate. So this is how you can basically remove this hardness caused by calcium bicarbonate through boiling. Magnesium carbonate bicarbonate cannot be satisfactorily removed through boiling since magnesium carbonate is fairly soluble in water. That is, so if you have calcium components, then only the boiling will work out. If it is magnesium components which are there, then your temporary boiling cannot be used as a removal method for the temporary hardness. Moreover, large-scale implementation of boiling for removal of temporary hardness is not feasible. That is, here the large-scale implementation of these boiling of water in basically boiling in large scale may not be feasible for removal of temporary hardness. Second one is addition of lime. Generally, hydrated lime is added to water. So hydrated lime in the sense what? Your calcium hydroxide. So if you check out the first element in all the three reactions, we have magnesium carbonate, we have magnesium carbonate and calcium bicarbonate. So basically these three are nothing but the components which are causing your temporary hardness. Now in the second part of that, we have hydrated lime in all the three cases, that is your calcium hydroxide. So when these two react, first is magnesium carbonate. When it reacts with the hydrated lime, it is going to form magnesium hydroxide and calcium carbonate. So here you can check out, so this calcium carbonate can be precipitated out, and once it is precipitating out, you can easily separate it with the help of sedimentation. Now similarly, we have magnesium bicarbonate, this is magnesium bicarbonate, it should be. When it reacts with the hydrated lime, we are going to get calcium bicarbonate and magnesium hydroxide. So here this magnesium hydroxide is nothing but the precipitate what we are going to find it. Now this calcium bicarbonate which is available, which can again react with the calcium hydroxide or hydrated lime to form calcium carbonate and water. So again here you can check out, so this calcium carbonate is nothing but the precipitating factor. So this can be easily sedimented or segregated out. So calcium carbonate, magnesium hydroxide are precipitated and removed in sedimentation tank. So as I have explained, same thing. So addition of lime, what actually it does, it will convert all the hardness causing components into the precipitated components or else precipitated parts of those, so that with the help of sedimentation we can easily remove those things. Next is soda lime process. Lime and soda ash are added to the water which react with calcium and magnesium salts so as to form insoluble precipitates of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide. So let us read this sentence once again. Please check out here. Lime and soda ash is added to water which reacts with calcium and magnesium salts so as to form insoluble precipitates of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide. So if you check out all these reactions which are displayed over here, you can see this. First element, I'll just concentrate on that. We have calcium, this is again bicarbonate. We have magnesium bicarbonate, we have magnesium carbonate, we have magnesium chloride. So this is nothing but what? Non-carbonate hardness. We have magnesium sulfate, which is also a non-carbonate hardness. We have free dissolved carbon dioxide. We have calcium chloride, and we have also calcium sulfate. So the first element in these reactions are nothing but the components which are actually causing the permanent hardness. If you go back to the previous slides, there you can check out basically these are nothing but the components which are causing the permanent hardness. Now to that you are going to add what? Two things. One is lime or soda ash. So if you check out all these steps, so here we have added the lime. So lime in the sense again hydrated lime, that is calcium hydroxide. So calcium bicarbonate will react with lime to form calcium carbonate and water. So here you can check out, so this is going to become what? Your precipitate. Similarly, magnesium bicarbonate will react again with lime to form calcium bicarbonate and magnesium hydroxide. So here this magnesium hydroxide is going to become what? Your precipitate. Now similarly you have magnesium carbonate, this will react with lime, so this will form magnesium hydroxide and calcium carbonate. So here both the components are going to get precipitated. Now similarly we have magnesium chloride which will react with again lime to form magnesium hydroxide and calcium chloride. So again if you check out, magnesium hydroxide is going to become what? Your precipitate. Now similarly magnesium sulfate will react with lime to form magnesium hydroxide and calcium sulfate. So here also you can check out, magnesium hydroxide is going to become the precipitate over here. Now next thing we have, if your water contains this free dissolved CO2, then again it can react with lime to form calcium carbonate, precipitate and water. Now similarly calcium chloride will react with soda ash now. So sodium carbonate is nothing but the soda ash. It will react to form again calcium carbonate and sodium chloride. Similarly, calcium sulfate will react with soda ash, that is sodium carbonate, to form calcium carbonate and sodium sulfate. So if you check out over here, what the things are there, I'll just explain. wherever calcium and magnesium is there, so you can check out. So carbonate and bicarbonate of those are basically what we call it as carbonate causing or else carbonate inducive compounds. Whereas if you check out magnesium chloride, here I have written it as non-carbonate hardness. That is basically carbonate and bicarbonate hardness, we usually relate it with the temporary hardness. Okay, so non carbonate hardness is nothing but it is a separate entity what we calculate or else what we consider whenever we think of permanent hardness. Similarly, magnesium sulfate, I have considered it as non-carbonate hardness. CO2 also same. Even calcium chloride, non-carbonate hardness. Calcium sulfate is also considered as non-carbonate hardness. So basically these are the reactions which will occur in the lime soda process. So in lime soda process, again I will repeat, you will add lime and soda ash to the water which react with calcium and magnesium salts. So all these things are calcium and magnesium salts so as to form insoluble precipitates of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide. Okay. So in the previous slide, what reactions we have seen. So let us see some of the explanation for that. So lime soda process. From these above equations, it can be seen that the lime helps in removing the entire carbonate hardness. Okay. It also reacts with non-carbonate hardness of magnesium to convert the same into non-carbonate hardness of calcium. And this will be removed by addition of soda ash. So lime also helps in removal of free dissolved carbon dioxide as per the equation which is discussed in the previous slide. Sodium salts formed at the end of this process are not usually objectionable. So sodium salts which are formed during the previous slide, so basically those will not be harmful for the human being. So even those are not that much objectionable. Most of the magnesium hydroxide and calcium carbonate formed are in precipitated form and can be separated through sedimentation. However, small percentage of above mentioned components may remain, causing incrustation of pipes. So hence, to prevent this, recarbonation process is adopted for the formation of soluble bicarbonates. So here what will happen, if we have these components over here, so which even 100% efficiency of this particular process may not be there, because of which what will happen, some small percentage of these components may remain which cause incrustation of pipes. That is, they form scales on those inner lines of the pipelines in the industries. So to avoid those, we usually go with the recarbonation process where few of the soluble bicarbonates are formed. So recarbonation process. So in this what will happen is insoluble calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3, will react with carbon dioxide and water to form soluble calcium bicarbonate. So similarly, magnesium hydroxide will react with the carbon dioxide to form magnesium carbonate and water. Similarly, magnesium carbonate will react with carbon dioxide and water to form magnesium bicarbonate. So here carbon dioxide gas is passed through burning coal, gas or oil and delivered to the plant in a pressurized liquid form. So that is basically what will happen. So this CO2 gas is passed through the liquid which contains all these, and because of reaction between the carbon dioxide and these components, basically we are going to get the soluble forms of few of the compounds. Even though the even though water regains some of the hardness, but it is advisable for practical purposes. So this basically causes few of the carbonate and bicarbonate hardness to return back to the water, but it is advisable for practical purposes. So the entire lime soda process takes around 2 to 4 hours to complete the process. Advantages. So this process is economical, first point. It can be easily combined with the usual water treatment methods without much of a hassle. That is, so it can be adopted to the conventional water treatment plant without much of a modification. So that will be very helpful in case if you want to go with the softening process. Lime and soda addition reduces the amount of coagulants used in water treatment. because if you check out, so lime is also can act as a coagulant. So once we are adding these two components for the softening process, automatically the dosage of coagulants will be reduced, so which will be helpful for us. pH increases with this treatment and hence reduces the chance of corrosion in the distribution system. So since all the components, the end products are basic in their nature or alkaline in their nature, so what it will do is it will help us to reduce the corrosion chances in the distribution pipeline. Increased pH also sometimes helps in killing some part or else some of the pathogenic microorganisms. That is, a few of the microorganisms may not be comfortable living in basic or else alkaline state. So this increased pH, that is making this alkaline, will help in killing some of the pathogenic microorganisms. So this reduces the total mineral content of water, and also it helps in removal of iron and magnesium salt to certain extent. So these are the advantages of lime soda process. Now coming to the disadvantage, so large quantity of sludge is formed. So you can see with a lime soda process, basically with all those reactions, so ultimately the removal of hardness will be in terms of those precipitates, and all those precipitates will be taken out through the sludge. So that's why the quantum of sludge which is being produced is quite high. For better efficiency, skilled labor and proper observation of the treatment is necessary. That is, if you want, skilled labor is required to check out the dosage as well as the working or observation of this lime soda process. If recarbonation is not adopted, incrustation of pipe may cause operational troubles in the industry. So as we have discussed in the previous slide, so if we don't provide this recarbonation, there is always a possibility of forming a scales inside the pipelines because of the hardness. So again, this will cause what? This will cause what I can say, heat loss, or else the pipes will get brittle. So it will cause a few of the operational troubles in the industries. This process cannot produce water with zero hardness, as there will be residual hardness at the end of the treatment. Now the next one what we have is zeolite process. This is the second method for removal of permanent hardness. Zeolites are natural salts or clays, what we call it, which are hydrated silicates of sodium and aluminium, having general formula as Na2O, Al2O, XSiO2, YH2O. So here it is having sodium component, aluminium component, as well as silicate component and water. So zeolites are basically, these are naturally available salts which are there, and usual value of X is 2 or more, and the value of Y will be variable based on the type of zeolite or type of natural salt which is going to be there. Zeolites can be synthetically manufactured and they are called as resins. These have excellent property of exchanging their cations, and hence during softening operation, the sodium ions of the zeolite get replaced by calcium and magnesium ions present in hard water. So if you check out over here, so zeolites are basically naturally available, but even these things can be manufactured synthetically, and that synthetically manufactured zeolites are called as resins. And these resins have a very high capacity of exchanging their cations. So because of which what will happen, the calcium and magnesium present in hard water, so these ions can be shifted to these resins, and in turn we are going to reduce the hardness. Chemical reaction during this process can be summarized below, so you can just check it out. So this is nothing but the sodium zeolite, right? So Na2Z is indicating the sodium zeolite. So it may react with the hard water. So in hard water, what all components we have? We may have calcium bicarbonate, we have calcium sulfate, we have calcium chloride. Similarly, we have magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride. So in general, we are going to call that as calcium or magnesium salts. So these components are nothing but the hardness causing components in water. So when the sodium zeolite will react with the calcium or magnesium salt, we are going to get what? Sodium salts. That is, here this Na2, this Na2 will be coming over here, and these particular components will be added to the sodium, right? Now similarly, we are going to get calcium and magnesium zeolite. That is, the remaining part of this and this will combine, so together they are going to form one more compound. So if you check out, again I'll explain, sodium zeolite, which is over here, will react with the components which are there available with the hardness of water, which are a component of that. So because of this reaction, we are going to get sodium salts. We have sodium salts which don't cause the hardness over here, and along with that we have calcium and magnesium zeolite. So this is nothing but calcium and magnesium zeolite which is going to be there. So here just these ions are getting exchanged between the components. So this is how the zeolite process works. Calcium and magnesium zeolites can be regenerated into active sodium zeolite by treating it with 5 to 10% of solution of sodium chloride. That is, in the previous slide, how we have seen these particular zeolites are being converted into these particular what I can say components of those hardness producing elements. So once they have saturated, or they are saturated with their capacity, then we can regenerate or else regenerate their particular activity by passing 5 to 10% sodium chloride solution to those zeolites. Regeneration can be visualized in the following reaction. So now here you can check out the end product of the previous reaction has become the raw material now, that is used zeolite, that is calcium and magnesium zeolite will react with sodium chloride solution to form again zeolite, that is sodium zeolite what we have in the earlier stage. Then we have calcium and magnesium chloride. So here you can check it out. So this used zeolite is being converted into a refreshed zeolite or regenerated zeolite. So, and we are left out with calcium and magnesium chloride element, which is not harmful or which is not objectionable in the water. So whatever is being regenerated over here can be reutilized again for the zeolite process. A zeolite softener resembles a sand filter. So till now what we have studied, basically it is the technique or working principle or the chemical reactions which are actually happening in the zeolite process. Now practically how you are going to adopt these particular chemical reactions into the water treatment plant. So let us see that. So a zeolite softener resembles a sand filter in which the filtering medium is zeolite rather than sand. So what it indicates, it is similar to our pressure filter or sand filter, what we call it. So instead of sand, we are going to have the zeolite filled as a medium over there. So hard water enters from the top and is evenly distributed on the entire zeolite bed. The softened water is collected through the strainer at the base. So again it is as similar as our pressure filter. So in the, if you remember in the previous classes what filters we have studied, so there also in the pressure filter, so the unit is going to look exactly same, the working will be exactly same, only instead of that sand filter, sand media, we are going to have this zeolite. When sufficient portion of sodium in zeolite has been replaced by calcium and magnesium ions, it is initially washed with fresh water by reversing the flow and then treating with 10% solution of brine. So solution of brine in the indicates it is salt water, that is sodium chloride, what we have seen in the previous slide. So here what they are saying, if as and when the treatment continues, so in the next slide you are going to see the figure, so there again we can discuss on this, but generally as and when this zeolite get exhausted, how it get exhausted, because its ions are getting replaced by calcium and magnesium, and once that particular outlet of water is not soft or else still it has the hardness. So basically how, this is how we are going to get to know how whether this zeolite has been saturated or not. So once this has been achieved, then they are going to initially reverse the flow of water with fresh water. They are going to wash it up first, and then they are going to again on top they are going to release this 10% solution of brine, so that it can infiltrate. So it can infiltrate into that media, and whatever the reaction is there, that will happen, and in turn from the bottom we are going to collect this excess brine. So excess brine retained in the zeolite after treatment is removed again by washing it with the fresh water. Zeolite softeners may be either gravity filters or pressure filters, and the rate of filtration through zeolite softener is about 300 liters per square meter per minute. So this is the same unit what we have used in our pressure filters or rapid sand filters, what we have studied earlier. This process generate water of zero hardness, which is generally not suitable for public supply. So let us see in the next slide how the working or how the figure of this particular pressure filter is going to be. Okay, now this is just a line diagram representation, and this is one of the sectional views. So if you check out here, again we have the hard water inlet, we have the same kind of sealed channel. So we have the media. So here instead of media we have your zeolite over here. Okay, so this is where the zeolite is there, right? So here your water will stand up. So as and when the head of water will increase, so this will start to infiltrate, and in turn it will react with the zeolite and the ion exchange will take place. After their filtration, after their passage through these, it is going to be collected under draining system, and then from there it is going to be taken out as a soft water. Now, as and when this process is continuing, what will happen? This will get saturated. So at that point of time, what they will do? They will first, they will again, they have the valves as we have studied in the rapid sand filter. I will not repeat that once again here. So they will stop this valve once it is saturated. The water will, they will open this one, the water will come from the bottom, even this will be closed. From here under drainage system they will first wash this. Okay, so once they wash this, okay, they are going to collect the outlet from that, and once it is washed, then what they are going to do is they are again going to stop the entire inlet, and then through this they are going to switch it on. So this brine solution which is there, so this will be pumped from the top, and again this brine solution, as and when it infiltrates into your filter media, so again it is going to regenerate that zeolite which is going to be present. So as and when that is getting regenerated, right, so the excess quantity is taken out, and again it is stored or else it is taken separately. So once again this status is received where this entire zeolite is regenerated, what they will do, they will again stop with this valve, they'll again open this valve, and the regular water which is there, yeah, so the regular water which is again will come here. So again it will pass through the filter media, then it is collected at the bottom, and then it is taken out over here. So this is how your entire zeolite process in practical, this is how it is going to be used in the water treatment system. Now if I come to this particular figure, so you can see this is made up of your metal, and here you can check out. So basically here we'll have these medias which are there. From the top there will be water which is coming in, so it is going to pass through that. These are the under drainage systems. So from here it is going to be collected and it can be taken out over here. So this is how the zeolite process works. Advantages of zeolite process. Zero hardness of water can be achieved, which is useful for specific industries like textile and boilers, etc. So even though zero hardness is not preferred for public water supplies, but these are used for a specific industries. So textile and boilers in any of the industrial use is one of them. Plant is compact and automatic and easy to operate. So it is as good as you are working with the rapid sand filter. It is similar to that. The only difference is instead of that sand, you are going to have these zeolites. No sludge is formed, and hence no problem of sludge disposal. So here no sludge is formed and no problem of sludge disposal. So in the previous case we had a lot of difficulty with respect to the sludge because all those precipitates were being carried out in the sludge, but here there is no such problem. Operating and maintenance cost is less. It removes iron as well as manganese from water, which is advantageous to us. There is no difficulty in treating water of varying quality because here the entire treatment process works based on the ion exchange method. So as and when even the dosage or else the concentration of the inflow water, if it is varying, the treatment can be easily managed with the zeolite process. There is no problem of incrustation of pipes of the distribution system since it has no hardness. So even the incrustation problem may not occur over here. Now similarly, the disadvantages, this process is not suitable for treating highly turbid water. So if the water is relatively clear, then only you can go with the zeolite process. The reason being, if it is quite turbid, then it is going to form a thick layer of scum on the top layer of that zeolite, which may hinder the interaction of ions through that media. The process leaves sodium bicarbonate in water, which causes priming and foaming in industrial or boiler feed water. That is, because of this sodium bicarbonate which may remain in the water or treated water may cause these particular operational difficulty in few of the industries. This process is costly if water contains iron and manganese, as iron or manganese zeolite formed during the reaction cannot be regenerated. Hence, this zeolite needs to be wasted. That is, if you have manganese or iron component in your water, then this rejuvenation or regeneration of zeolite cannot be carried out. So that's why this entire zeolite needs to be wasted, because of which the treatment may become costly. So these are the disadvantages of zeolite process. Now let us check out what all things we have finished in fourth module. So if you check out in the initial stages, we have done with the entire disinfection in the previous classes. So methods of disinfection, merits, demerits, theory of disinfection, emphasis of treatment on water usage. So all these things have been done. So in this we have covered with softening, the overview of lime soda process and zeolite process. Okay, so these are the things that have been covered till now in fourth module. Thank you.